So I was in third grade. Okay. My mom used to walk me to school every day. Again, my mother is a black woman and I'm light skinned. When we get to the school and my mom kissed me goodbye, the kids started teasing me. And it was happening often. And the kids were saying, that is not your mommy. You're white and she's explicit. And she's black.
Did he make a video about how biracial kids are putting down other biracial kids if you have a black mom and if you have a white mom? Now, does it make you any less or more black? I don't really think so. I think it's one half dozen of the other altogether. Now, when it comes down to culturally, there is a big difference. Your mother is your nurturer. It's the one that shows you how to go through life. I could tell just by the way you're talking, your mother was white. I could tell by the way it comes off. Like, there's just a certain energy a black mother's gonna give to their kid that a white mother can't give to their kid. It's just not there. And I'm not trying to speak for the entire community of black people, but a lot of the time, if a black man gets married to a white woman, he has to suppress some of his blackness to cater to that white woman and their family. It just happens. But as a black women were oppressed for so long, they will never change how they move for a white man. So a white man will have to accept this black woman, how she comes and how she wants to raise her family. Think about it like this. If your father is black and your mother is white, your dad liked your mother for a reason. There's certain characteristics of the white woman and the white people he enjoys. So of course the mother of his kids will be teaching the baby how to be a lot like her. So put it in reverse. Think about having a white dad and a black mom. The white dad probably really liked the blackness coming from that woman right there. He probably really enjoyed that he was with a black woman. It was probably his favorite thing in the world. So he allows her to teach that kid how she sees fit.
I'm gonna need y'all white parents of biracial kids to listen in real quick. I'm gonna give you fair warning, this might be an uncomfortable conversation, but it's necessary. A lot of y'all's kids have complexes and identity issues, and it's not because they have a white parent. It's because a lot of y'all chose to have biracial kids before you unpacked your internalized racism and anti-blackness. It's because a lot of y'all have biracial children without learning enough about the black experience to guide your child through a black experience.
Hi guys, my name is Esther Daniel and you're welcome back to the channel. So there is a big conversation going on TikTok that I feel like we really need to talk about. People are discussing biracial kids and how their experiences are different depending on if their mom is black or if their mom is white. I didn't even know this was such a big deal, but after hearing these stories, especially from the kids themselves, it's honestly shocking, emotional, and eye-opening. So let's get into it. But before we do that, please subscribe to the channel, like and share the video to help the channel out. And don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments.
White mom biracials. Let's talk about it. If you're ethnically biracial black, that means that you either have a white mom and a black dad, or you have a black mom and a white dad. And those combinations mean totally different things, right? Societally, culturally, among the black community. One is perceived as very positive, and the other can be perceived as negative. If you're a black mom biracial, that typically means you were raised in the culture, you were raised to be respectful, you were raised to like not center yourself among black people. The opposite is true. If you're called a white mom biracial, that oftentimes means that you do center yourself, that you're not like accustomed to your culture, that you don't perceive yourself as black. Before we go further, I think it is important to note that this conversation of white mom versus black mom biracial is framed through motherhood, which is an inherently kind of misogynistic idea. It's this idea that mothers are the only one that sustain tradition and that the fathers are kind of just like left out of this conversation. I think it's just important to keep in mind. Let's start with black mom biracials, right? Like zooming out from the children, I think we as like a black community oftentimes prefer or preference this idea of like a black woman being with a white man. It suggests that this person, this white person, is like flouting kind of typical societal ideals and is respecting and like relishing the idea of being like with a powerful black woman. And I think part of the excitement there too is the idea or understanding that the children of that union will be raised by a black woman. So these mixed black biracial children will be raised by a woman who prioritizes their blackness and like gets them comfortable with the idea of being black and involves them with the community and the history and the tradition and the ideals. And so that person isn't kind of like tragic or like stuck between worlds or kind of profiting from this biracial identity in a harmful way to the Black community. And I think anecdotally, when we see these like biracial Black children with Black mothers, they're typically raised very well. Like the moms themselves don't really mess up in these seismic ways. The kids know how to do their hair. They are raised in the Black community. They understand about their history and their traditions, and they identify themselves as Black. I just think also the kids know who they are. There's like less of this like, oh, I don't know where I fit in. Like, I don't know what my racial identity is. Like, there's less of that. There's more like confidence in the idea of like, I'm Black and I have a white parent. But also can't be forgotten is that like when Black women enter into interracial relationships and they know that they'll be having children, they typically like choose partners who will be responsible interracial partners, right? Like a Black woman, anecdotally, of course, will pick a white partner who is going to help positively raise this Black child, who will not contribute to anti-racist ideals or like make that child feel weird or upset or sad about their Blackness. Next, the white mom biracials, of which I am a member. Anecdotally and across this app and social media, we're very familiar with the idea of like white women fetishizing Black men and fetishizing this idea of having mixed babies. In these situations, these white mothers raise their biracial Black children around white people, and they typically don't really kind of introduce them to the Black community or Black culture or Black history or Black ideals. And so these kids are fundamentally confused, right? They're ethnically, aesthetically, physically different than their mothers and the communities they're raised around, and then they slowly kind of like absorb this anti-Blackness rhetoric. In these situations where the white mom isn't like steadfast and super responsible about raising her children, these kids are raised and internalize like a lot of anti-Blackness. Like they don't know how to do their hair. They don't know how to decenter themselves in situations around other Black people. And it is ultimately harmful to the child because like they do like lack this confidence in who they are. And they also have those like proverbial feelings of, oh, I'm so tragic. I don't know where I fit in. Factually, I am a white mom biracial. Like I was raised in a predominantly white situation with a white mother. And my parents were like very into colorblindness, which is like a story for another time, which was ultimately harmful to me. I didn't know how to do my hair. I didn't understand my identity. I was very confused. I like totally felt tragic about it. And it wasn't until college where I like learned about being Black and history and culture and literature and like was around other Black people where I was able to like unpack and do all of this.
My mom was a racist white woman and she hated Black people, which is crazy because look at me, guys. I'm Black. I am Black. And when I tell you, she used to ask me all the time why I didn't have blonde hair, blue eyes, and light skin. I'm like, Mom, you're the one who ended up with the Black man. Why are you asking me why I'm not light-skinned? Like, you should be asking yourself why I'm not light-skinned, okay? And throughout most embarrassing thing, throughout elementary school, through almost like beginning of high school, I would tell people I wasn't Black because my mom was like determined and brainwashed me to believe that I wasn't Black. So embarrassing. Why did people even talk to me? Like I was adamant I was not Black. And when they would ask me, I'd be like, well, I'm not Black. I don't know what you mean. And they're like, what the fuck do you think I mean? So embarrassing.
Since we're on the topic of race, I think that this is a great story time opportunity to talk about my upbringing. I have a Black mother and a white father. Growing up, I didn't know that I was different, but I knew that something was supposed to be a secret. Trigger warning, this is about racial passing and my experience growing up in my hometown back in the day. We moved from another state, and my grandma, who's white, she kept telling me, you can't go around telling people that your mom is Black. You have to tell them that that's the nanny. When you go to school, like, don't mention your mom. It's like, why? I remember asking her why. And she was like, because it's gonna be harder for you. They're gonna treat you differently. They're gonna put you in stupid classes and all this stuff that she was telling me. But I knew from my grandmother, it was more of a social aspect. She didn't want people knowing that her grandchildren were like half Black. In this elementary school I went to, I noticed that double fountains, not just like a small one and a big one, but it was like a small one and a big one and then another small one and a big one next to them. And it was always near the bathrooms. And I always questioned, why is there two girls' bathrooms like so close to each other and two boys' bathrooms so close to each other? I didn't know that my school was at one point a segregated school. 2 black people in my whole school. Everyone else was white. My hair would curl because of the humidity, and my grandma wanted to erase the black. She wanted to erase the black. Back in the day, there was something called Japanese perms, a relaxer, and I would just remember my scalp burning in the shower. Other things that she would do, she would like, when you go to like the beauty supply store and you see like those like special soaps, she would put all those soaps on me and tell me like stay in the shade, squeeze my nose, thinking that it'll make it smaller. Starts questioning you, just say that you're Italian. And it's just crazy. So there was this black boy named Jeremy that like joined our class like mid-year. When I tell you, that's when I learned that they'll treat you differently. Jeremy wasn't allowed to go on the blacktop. Jeremy had to stay inside. Jeremy, obviously like schools have like funding for like kids that can't go to like certain like field trips. They'll leave Jeremy behind. The kids will call Jeremy and like the teachers would just like laugh about it. And I always felt like Jeremy knew that I was part black, but he didn't like no. Like he like felt it but didn't know. That's when I noticed like, oh shit, if I tell someone I'm black, like I'm gonna be treated like Jeremy. So I just didn't tell anyone. It wasn't like I was ashamed or something, but I was taught like this was something bad. There would be like parent-teacher conference, and my grandmother would show up in replacing my mom. My mom's very submissive, very sweet woman. Oh, you can't show up, you're gonna ruin this family, you're gonna ruin her opportunities if you tell people. I'm not one of those like self-hating, I'm not here like, oh, don't look at my mom, like none of that. Like me and my mom were really cool, like we really chill. She was just here like yesterday. But my grandma, trials and tribulations. So my mom one day randomly decided to show up to the elementary school, and it was my birthday. When people saw my mom, they thought it was the nanny. I guess I slipped and said mom. This girl, I forgot what her name was, like Crystal or whatever, she was like, and I was like, no, I'm not. So this Crystal girl went around, told everybody that I'm actually like black and making fun of me. They said, oh, that's why your hair looks like it's electrocuted. Like my teachers started asking me, they're like, are you? I was like, no, that's my nanny. That's not my mom. And I remember going home and I asked my mom, I was like, why can't I tell people you're my mom? And she was like, it's just for your own good. The moral of this story with the elementary school is that if I ended up telling people that I was black, I would have been in like these horrible classes. I wouldn't have been taught properly. I wouldn't have gotten like the new textbooks. They gave the black kids the old ass textbooks and had them in a different class. Like they would come for certain classes, but not all the classes. And you could just tell that they were like a little behind with school. And then I knew that, yeah, I was getting like good education, but I always like, it was nothing that I was like, oh, I'm ashamed of being this. It was like, why do I have to keep this secret? And nobody looked like me. And I was just so confused as a kid. But then when I got to high school, that's when I started noticing that people say some wild ass shit. I went to high school, people started calling people hard ERs, there's more black people, and nobody knew. And then I think it was my junior year, I just like told everyone, I'm like, you guys know I'm half black, right? Nobody believed me. This is my mom, showing them pictures, showing them my cousins and all this stuff. I like finally, like I used to like relax my hair like all the time. And then I finally like let my hair grow. I just like lived in my truth, and yeah, they treated me a little differently after that. But I felt so happy to just like not live with this weird secret. But then now I understand why my mom, well, it wasn't really my mom, it was my grandma. It was not like the imitation of art where I was trying to disown my mother and live my life as a white woman. That was not the case. I don't know, like as an adult looking back at it, I can imagine how confused I was as a child. I never like I said, hated my mom or felt like I was ashamed of being black. I just knew that I saw that if I told people, I would be treated differently. And so that's where the whole like light skin privilege and all this stuff and this whole biracial talk that's going on TikTok is like trending, because they're like, you don't know what it's like. And yeah, like I don't know what it's like, but I saw, and I also had a black mom, and I saw her experiences, and I saw how like my father's family treated her. And to this day, I don't really like fuck with them like that.
I'm gonna need y'all white parents of biracial kids to listen in real quick. I'm gonna give you fair warning, this might be an uncomfortable conversation, but it's necessary. A lot of y'all's kids have complexes and identity issues, and it's not because they have a white parent. It's because a lot of y'all chose to have biracial kids before you unpacked your internalized racism and anti-blackness. It's because a lot of y'all have biracial children without learning enough about the black experience to guide your child through a black experience. To guide them through a world that is inherently anti-black. Cutting off your racist family members is not all it takes to raise a biracial kid. In fact, that doesn't even come close to the bare minimum. You can have the best intentions for your children while still causing them collective harm. And you know, I first noticed this when my daughter was an infant and I started joining Facebook groups for parents of biracial kids. These white moms would have the best intentions, yet end up on Facebook crying about how their child was saying they didn't want to be black and they hated being black. And because these parents did not take the time to educate themselves whatsoever on systemic racism and anti-blackness on a level that they would be able to appropriately raise a biracial child, they were on the internet crying for help instead of helping their kid. You cannot shield your child from experiencing anti-blackness in the world, but you can equip them to deal with it. I get told pretty frequently that my daughter will be mistaken for a black mom biracial. Now I'm going to explain to you why. First and foremost, she is not raised in an anti-black environment. A lot of black men, white women relationships are inherently anti-black, due to the fact that the relationship is based on fetishization and the hatred of black women instead of mutual love. The way that I look at it, the world is constantly going to be hurling anti-blackness at my child. And instead of acting like it does not exist, I have been equipping my child since birth to be able to handle said anti-blackness through radical self-love and positive identity. My child has at a young age told me that she wanted to be white to match her family. Right then and there, we had a very long conversation about anti-blackness and racism at 4 years old, and how her blackness was the most beautiful part of her. She made a comment one time about her baby doll, her black baby with coily hair, being ugly. Again, we had a long discussion about colorism, texturism, and racism. After that day, that baby did not leave her hip. You cannot just be not teaching your kid to be anti-black. You have to be preparing them for an anti-black world. You have to ensure that you are not feeding your child a complex towards other black people, that you're showing them how to cherish and uplift their community. See, biracial kids with white parents can be raised to be pro-black, but many aren't. And that is because their environment and their role models are not pro-black. If you don't want your child to have identity issues, it starts with you. It is wholeheartedly possible for you to educate yourself. A lot of y'all simply choose not to. Do better.
So I was in third grade, okay? My mom used to walk me to school every day. Again, my mother is a black woman and I'm light skinned. When we get to the school and my mom kissed me goodbye, the kids started teasing me. And it was happening often. And the kids were saying, that is not your mommy. You're white and she's explicit. And she's black. And now I'm from England, okay? And so coming to this country, I was still, young enough that I remember more of England than America at the time. And I didn't understand what that meant because I had never paid attention to the fact that my mother was darker skinned than I was. She was just my mom. I didn't notice. So I felt uncomfortable and I felt embarrassed. I didn't know why they were saying that. And so here I am, third grade. I go home to my mom and I say to her, Mom, I don't want you to take me to school anymore. And she says to me, well, why? And I said, well, because I'm embarrassed because you're black and I'm white. And my mother wept and she cried and she told me I was ashamed of her. And how could you say something like that? And my mom was in so much pain. And I remember the feeling, third grade, of feeling misunderstood. and feeling insecure about expressing myself. And I didn't know what to say because my intention wasn't to hurt my mom's feelings. I just didn't know why they were teasing. I didn't understand. And that was the only way I could comprehend it. So growing up, even though that was buried deep in my mind, it always made me feel insecure. So if I were around people who didn't understand me or misunderstood what I was saying or what have you, and I felt like I was going to hurt their feelings or whatever when I was trying to articulate myself, it literally made me really emotional inside. And I didn't even know that it stemmed from that story until I started doing some work and trying to understand, why do I get so angry when people misunderstand me? And it was my coach. I had to do my own coaching and so on and so forth. And I know it's a long-winded story, but it's to the point of what I guess I'm trying to make here is that sometimes the insecurities that we have are so deep rooted. They stem from one simple story that just continued to grow because you didn't get your healing or your clarity in that. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I say we can talk about insecurities, but how do people overcome them?
So being biracial with the white mom is trending right now, and I just want to jump on this wagon. Dear black people, do you not see how harmful this is? Like, do you not? Let me give you some examples. You don't know what it's like to grow up mixed, because you don't realize that a lot of us deal with racism since day one all the time, and these are supposed to be with people that love us, aka our families. A lot of people on my mom's side of the family were Aryan Nation skinheads. I didn't know what the fuck that was as a kid. And I didn't understand why everybody looked at me different, or why there was certain people in my family that just would never say hello to me or my dad or my mom because they were disgusted. And I didn't understand that as a kid. I didn't get it. I thought I had something on my face the way they were looking at me. You know how hard it is to nonstop be told, like, wow, you have your mom's face with just dark skin, with a look of disgust on their face while they say it, and not know why they feel disgusted to say such things? It's confusing. You gain a complex and you just don't feel beautiful no matter how gorgeous you are. You change yourself. I straightened my hair every single day in high school so that people wouldn't run their fingers through my hair or try to pull my afro when I walked in the hallway. Like, there are so many things that we did to adjust to suburbia. Or how about going to school with my siblings who are white and I'm not? And everyone asking me if I was adopted from Africa as a joke because I'm the only black one. You know how much that fucking sucked? Like, nonstop being denied my own mother being my mother because of my skin color. Like, it was crazy. It's crazy. And then I get to college and people that look like me all of a sudden are denying my blackness, telling me I have to say I'm biracial and I can't say that I'm black. And that's the first time your blackness was ever denied, because your whole life, that's all you've been seen as? Like, you know how fucking confusing that shit is? No, you don't.
It's been a while. So, I want to talk about the big elephant in the room when it comes to mixed people, right? Oh, you can tell who has a white mom and who has a black mom. Yeah, you can. The ones with white moms, a lot of times, they're either so aware, like painfully aware of what it's like having a white mom, or so on the other end of the spectrum. Like, there's no in between. And it's painfully true. The one thing, the major difference I feel like, and I've seen another creator talk about this, is like black moms might drop the ball on like regular parenting shit, like as does everyone else, but they never drop the ball. They never drop the ball on raising their kids to be confident in themselves as far as their race. Like, they never let their kids grow up confused about who the fuck they are racially and ethnically. Like, I just don't see it happening. Black women are the most aware of their race and their gender. Like, we literally have to be hyper vigilant about how we experience life. And so Black women have to raise their kids in a world where everyone else will be trying to tell them who they are. I feel like Black moms are like, no, like, this is who you are, you need to stand in that. White moms, a lot of the time I just see, are so fucking clueless. I'm sorry to say it, but like, they have these kids for sport, right? Like, they're like, oh, like, this black guy is so fucking hot, and wouldn't our babies be so cute? And they raise their kids like not knowing who they are, not knowing how to identify. A lot of times they'll raise their kids around all white people, which is even more confusing. And personally, like, my dad also dropped the ball. Like, we can blame him too. I just feel like it's not fair. Like, I didn't consent to having a white mom. And I wish white women were more careful about who they had kids with. Because you have to transform your entire life. You have to unlearn every fucking thing that you've ever learned if you want to have a child with someone from a different culture. I would never, like, for instance, be with someone who's Asian and be like, but I'm not going to give up any of my prior cultural practices and you need to assimilate with mine. Like, I would never do that. I would be willing to uproot my entire life to make sure that my kids were accepted, at the very least, within their family. A lot of mixed kids with white moms do not get the same grace. They just don't. White moms, not all, because I know some who do the damn thing, but it's very rare. It's very rare. And I just don't see black moms struggling with that.
Being raised by a white mother left me very ignorant, but also anti-black for many years of my life. And that's not something like I say with pride at all. I say it with a lot of shame. Now, I know that because of how I was raised, like, and because my dad didn't do his job as a black man, like being married to a white woman, that I guess it wasn't like my fault as a kid. But the more like work that I'm doing and the more, I don't know, I stepped away from like my mother, the more that I am just sad, because I see all these ways that I was just being me. Like, I was just being the black biracial daughter that she had, but she made me shrink myself and made me fit into the spaces she wanted me to fit into, so that she was comfortable and so that I made everybody else comfortable. And one of those things was like not wearing a bonnet like outside of the house or anything like that. Like, I remember we would like, you know, go to the stores and stuff, and if she would see especially a black woman like with her bonnet on, like, she would say like such awful things that I'm not going to repeat. And I remember as a kid never understanding, like, what's the problem with that? Like, what is the problem? But the more that her hate and ignorance was said to me, the more that when I would go out and I would see, like, a black woman or a person of color with a bonnet on, I would think, like, why are you coming out of the house like that? Like, that's not appropriate. The more that I wear and protect my hair in and outside of the home, the more my curls stay good and like stay healthy, not good, stay healthy. And that there's no shame, and there's nobody coming up to me saying anything, there's nobody looking at me funny. It was just my mom's own internal hatred for women of color, and the fact that she felt so confident to and proud to say those things around her biracial daughters that influenced my brain to think that it was an issue when it wasn't an issue. And I always knew it was an issue. But when your mother that raises you continues to be so toxic, I guess your brain starts to change. But it like makes me so sad, because I spent so many years not protecting my hair outside of the home because of what my mother said, and allowed myself to internalize that instead of just being proud of who I was and learning from other women of color on how to protect my hair.
So here is what's coming out in the stories. When a biracial child has a black mom, most of them say they feel more connected to their culture. They were taught early about racism, identity, and how to move in a world that sees them as black, right? Their moms made sure they didn't grow up lost or confused about who they are. But when it comes to biracial kids with the white mom, the experiences sound very different. Many said their moms loved them but didn't know how to prepare them for racism. Some kids grew up in mostly white neighborhood, not knowing their black side of the family or their culture. And when racism hits them, they felt alone because their mom couldn't understand or guide them through it. Now, here is where it gets really painful. Some biracial kids came out and admitted their white moms were actually racist towards them. Not just clueless, but racist. Some moms didn't even like the fact that they gave birth to a black child. Some of these women already had racist views about black people, and that carried out over to how they treated their own kids. They showed anger, rejection, and even straight up hate. Imagine growing up with a mom who is supposed to protect you, but instead she treats you with the same prejudice she has towards black people. That's trauma that stays with you forever. Why some biracial kids with white moms grew up loved but misunderstood, others grew up feeling unwanted, unloved, and rejected. And the truth is, these stories are heartbreaking. So what's the lesson here? Being a parent is more than just feeding and clothing your child. It's about preparing them for the world and giving them unconditional love. A black mom often gives their biracial kids survival tools from the start, but for white moms, especially those with racist mindset, their children end up suffering in silence. This is why so many people are speaking out on TikTok right now. These biracial voices are saying, this is what I lived through. This is my truth. And honestly, it's a reminder that love without acceptance and respect is not real love. At the end of the day, every child deserves to feel proud of who they are, not ashamed, not confused, and definitely not hated in their own homes. That's what this whole conversation is all about. Anyway, guys, these are just my opinion, and I would like to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like and share the video to help the channel out. See you in the next one. Bye.